Hello viewers, welcome to another episode of Old Man with a Cellular Phone, Talking Ham Radio. In this video, I'm going to show a little bit of my radio station, talk about the radios, explain what it can do, and go through a few myths or incorrect opinions that I've heard on the internet. Though I don't call any content creators out directly, I have seen a few videos that I was very discouraged to see. So we'll get into that a bit later, but let's get into the equipment now. This radio is the FTM 100. It's made by Yaesu. It's a higher end radio, was a bit more expensive when I bought it. It has a digital protocol called C4FM. It also has a built-in GPS, and it has APRS, or Automatic Packet Reporting System, Automatic Position Reporting System, however people like to decipher it. It's well known by APRS. APRS was actually developed, I believe, by an American with intentions on connecting the Hawaiian Islands with an expedient tactical information sharing system during disaster. As I speak, just last night I learned that the British Columbia West Coast was out of power. I believe that was due to high wind and a storm system coming through. Quite often, well, let's just say in the past 6 months, there has been a couple of hurricanes come through the U.S., one of which was Hurricane Helene. The damage was so unusual and so significant, it had caught everybody off guard. I believe rescue and recovery efforts as well as aid efforts are still happening today. If you wish to help with that, I recommend you go to Grindstone Ministries and utilize their website to figure it out. That's the best I could tell anybody for assisting in that. We've also had a number of fires. The town of Jasper burnt. Jasper, Alberta, Canada. A lot of that caught fire. We've had several other communities somewhat chased out. There's been all kinds of flooding that's chased out communities, all in just the 6 months. The first thing that happens in a disaster is your cellular phone stops working. And that's why people want radio. In addition to the APRS on this radio, it is more or less a local service radio. It can get you about 100 mile if you have a good antenna in the right spot, sometimes a bit more, sometimes a bit less. This is really good for localized disasters that are quite a bit smaller than Helene, or if you're just assisting in a small community. Some of the newer models of this radio come with a cross-band repeat function that will allow you to receive signals on one band and simultaneously transmit them on another band, extending your range. These are particularly useful when all of our local repeaters have shut down or been destroyed. You can put one of these in a vehicle, you can drive it to a high point, turn it on, issue out the frequencies, and away you go. For my station, I'm set up for solar power, and I believe in redundancy, so I built several options to make sure my radio equipment stays on the air. All 3 of these run off my own battery supply, so when local power is out, I don't care. Moving over here, we'll just turn on, get some light going here. There we go. I have a 100 watt PV solar charge controller, a 2500 watt pure sine wave power inverter. I've got a little over 500 watts of solar coming to the battery, and if you've been watching my channel for a while, you'll know I'm in the process of upgrading everything. Under here, it's powered by two 12-volt, 320 amp-hour LiFePO4 batteries there in the corner. I can run those batteries together as I am, or if need be, I can separate the two batteries, put on another charge controller right here, a 40 amp, and I can essentially charge the two batteries independent, giving me some redundancy. On top of that, I've got this battery, which is only 30 amp hours, but for the purposes of operating my radio equipment, it has done just fine. I have a second one of these on the way, and I can put that on its own charge controller and solar system, giving me a third redundancy, and when the new battery shows up, a fourth. So I can back my power needs up times 4. I'm going to go through an awful lot of trouble before I run out of power just to keep these 3 radios going. So with this radio here, its receiver is big enough for me to get commercial radio. That would be your city parks, highways, transportation, road maintenance, city maintenance, taxi cabs, tow trucks, things like that. You'll get them all over this if you know where you're looking. It'll also allow me to stay linked with the ham radio repeater systems, and some of our repeater systems are linked, cover over 50,000 square kilometers of province, so I can get a lot further than just local, but you would expect in a disaster some of that would go down. With this radio, this is HF, and this is where the frustration's going to begin. I've seen a few YouTube content creators that encourage GMRS, FRS, and CB radio. They proclaim that ham radio guys are gatekeepers to radio because there's a test and you have to learn about it. That is my frustration. It is factually incorrect. Once you learn about it, you'll understand clearly why you have to learn about it. And to say, oh, you're just gatekeeping, I don't want to learn the curriculum, is just mentally lazy. And I wouldn't listen to those people for very long. The reason we have licensing comes from the UTC, or the United Telecommunications Commission. That is global. It covers all of Earth, because the frequencies from this radio will cover all of Earth. So we have to have a system of governance so that when you turn on your local AM/FM radio station, you hear your local AM/FM radio station. What you don't hear is 2 other radio operators in a foreign country speaking a language you don't know anything about. That's not useful to you. So there's that. In addition to it, you have to understand how signal propagation works, which brings us to my next frustration on the subject. Some people proclaim that this transceiver here is only for long-range communication. You can't get local, you can't do local. That is so factually incorrect. I believe those people should go speak to the gatekeepers, take the course, and learn the truth. The ground wave footprint of this radio here is huge. It's about, from where I sit, I can get around 250 kilometers, or about 150, 180 miles. That's my ground wave. Then it starts bouncing. Every night I check into a net. I live in the city of Calgary. I can hear Lethbridge. I can hear Medicine Hat. I can hear all throughout BC. I can hear all the way up to Edmonton, Red Deer, points beyond, all off this radio. All of that would be considered local. It's all within my province or the adjacent provinces. That is how my antenna is set up currently. There's many options I have. When you learn about this stuff, you learn how to control your signal takeoff angle, which is going to control the distance in which you are transmitting. And for all of those doomsdayers out there that think the moment you break squelch, they're going to know exactly where you are, whoever they is, and they're going to drop a warhead on your forehead, whoever they is. The truth is, I can alter my antenna's takeoff angle for a propagation signal called NIVIS, where the signal goes straight up and straight back down, but it goes up in a cone and comes down in an even wider cone. This can cover 300 to 600 square miles of ground. You get to look wherever within there to try and figure out where it's coming from. You cannot just pinpoint it on the ground using antennas, because it's coming from the sky, it's coming from the ground, it's coming from my antenna, it's coming from a lot of places at once. NIVIS is good for localized communication. When I want a very strong signal, say through all southern Alberta from Edmonton to Lethbridge, if I just want to dominate that signal space and make sure I can relay emergency civilian traffic from Lethbridge to Edmonton, given a disaster anywhere along that route, I'm able to do so. The other comment I heard is that ham radio guys are gatekeepers. And all I can do for that is explain my experience. When I first got into ham radio, I went to the gatekeepers. Not only was I invited in the gates with a smile, I was provided with a radio course that cost me no more money than my chair at the venue. The instructor didn't make a dime. He's a volunteer doing it because he appreciates bringing new people through those gates that he keeps. I was successful in the course. It cost me $20 for a proctored test, so I paid a total of $80. And the gatekeepers brought me right in with a smile, brought me from not knowing anything to being reasonably proficient with all of this radio equipment and knowing how it works. It was probably the most welcoming community I've ever been in. I've had no shortage of help from the fellas over the years. No shortage of advice that was true, accurate, and correct. It's just been a pleasant experience. As far as the warhead on the forehead business goes, that's never really been my concern or experience when it comes to transmitting. As of current, there is a militarized conflict going on between the nation-states of Russia and the nation-state of Ukraine. Whatever the politics, I don't care. I have had communications over the radio during this time with both countries. I've spoken with Russia and I've spoken with Ukraine over the radio. Neither the Russian station or the Ukrainian station were hit with warheads, and as I'm making this video, nobody's bothered me about it either. I guess it just turns out if there is an armed militarized conflict, and all you are is a civilian on a civilian radio talking about civilian subjects, they don't actually spend $1.5 million to blow you up. With that being said, it's really safe to use this equipment. You really need to know how to use it though. With this radio here, it's a lot more complicated than the other one, and if you don't do it right, you're not going to make a communication, you're just going to let the magic smoke out. For me, the purpose of having this equipment is during emergencies and disasters, Instead of sitting at home saying, I can't do anything, I have communication equipment that I can use to communicate with stations near or far in order to relay or convey emergency or life-threatening information. I can also just turn it on. Maybe my area is affected and I don't have any household power, hence the reason I maintain solar. I can sit here and monitor a wide swath of frequencies, local, far, near, wide. I can hear about road closures, weather conditions, support and aid stations, you name it, I can pick it up and hear it. And if you're just sitting in your home, you have all of your needs met, you're minding your own business, you're just out of power is all. Being able to turn on the radio and hear other people talking and hear the activity going on, it adds a bit of a morale boost. It lets you know you're not alone, and it lets you know things are still happening. That can be a benefit. Aside from that, I think I've rambled on a little bit more than I wanted to, so I'll cut it short here, and you guys have yourself a great day. We'll catch you on the next one. Please leave a comment if you choose.